Welcome to the Real Estate and Tax Talk podcast with your hosts, Ricky and Steve. Brought to you by affiliated 1031.
Welcome to Real Estate and Tax Talk. I'm your host, Ricky Guerrero, with my partner here, Steven Green. We're real estate and tax attorneys who obviously specialize in real estate and tax. Here we talk about real estate and taxes, the game of gains. We're here recording the day after tax day, right? So I offer my condolences to anyone that has to pay tax.
I stroked a big check myself.
Yeah, I know, but that's why we're here. We're learning. We're here to educate and teach everyone, why is the tax code beneficial to people and why real estate and tax are intertwined to lead to, that generational wealth, financial success, and how tax codes can be used to their benefit. We have a guest here today, cool man, Mr. Ryan Kohler. He's an investor, seasoned investor, and then we want to get him on to learn some of his advice, some of his deals, and I'll let you talk a little bit. Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started in real estate about 25 years ago.
Wow, I'm almost 25 years. Well, I was 25.
Yeah, he was 25 when he graduated law school.
I was 25 years. 5 years ago, I was 25 years old. Not anymore.
Well, really, I got my taste for real estate way before that. My grandfather, God rest his soul, was a little bit of a slumlord. But seeing him with the rental properties and building up a portfolio over years, he got out of the military. He was actually a lawyer as well, and
Lucky
using
him.
his money, his retirement money, to purchase rental properties. I would go in the summer times and help paint and that sort of thing. So it just kind of got me a taste for real estate and having that passive income. Beginning of 2000s.
I actually grew up the same way. My dad was a real estate investor.
Oh, really?
That's how I got into the business. My dad was flipping houses. He used to be a franchise owner of We Buy Every Houses, the whole investors down here. So when I was 13 years old, I used to go with him, help him fix houses. And then I got into real estate because of him, and my mom was a mortgage broker for 30 years.
Right.
But I went the legal way because they told me to. And then that's how I got into real estate.
Generational influence. I mean, that's important. So I started a company in early 2000s, Urban Life Design Group. We were obtaining home ownership opportunities for families of low income, and things were going really well until the crash in 2007 and 8. That's when I lost absolutely everything, went bankrupt, and I had $997 in my bank account. I was actually living downtown. I was doing an affordable project at Havana Lofts on 6th and Flagler. And luckily, one of the developers, because they were losing the building to foreclosure too, unfortunately it didn't work out, but he signed a 12-month lease for me, so I had a place to live because I didn't have any money at that time. So I got started again. I after about 6 months of feeling sorry for myself and not wanting to look in the mirror, and I finally, picked myself up, got back out there, put my realtor's hat on because I was licensed, and started finding, some foreclosure properties for a couple of investors just to make some ends meet. Started building things back up. Found the Broward Real Estate Investors Association. I'd never heard of a RIA until 2009 or 10, Real Estate Investors Association, which I'm president of the National Real Estate Investors Association now. So, but I found that company, and that group, they were out of Plantation, Florida. And they had a mentor program to teach you how to wholesale and invest and buy and holds and 1031 exchanges and all kind of different stuff. So I learned in their mentor program, became the top student in their mentor program, and then became successful enough to buy all the companies from my mentors. I developed also the Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Association, built those to the two largest RIAs in the United States, had about the most successful mentor program in real estate investing from 2012 or 13 until a couple years ago, and sold that company. I now own Florida Homeowner Solutions, and we strictly, help homeowners that are facing foreclosures, probates. I do a lot of probates with Steve. So,
Yeah, a lot of death, man. Death and taxes in the show.
listen, as one of my favorite national speakers said one time, we're in God's waiting room. This is Florida. So as morbid as that sounds, it's the life cycle. I try to tell people, hey, grandma was ready to go. She was 93 years old. Okay. She lived a long time. We'd only hope to live that long, so, but hopefully they did it the right way and had a will and had everything set up, properly for taxes and all that kind of stuff. Cause that obviously ties into probates and taxes in real estate. So that's where I'm at today, is just, getting a little bit closer to retirement. Mostly investing in real estate. Right now, I'm positioning more. I've been doing the single family market, and so now I'm going to be positioning more for more multifamily, because that's really what I want to retire on. Find some multifamily rentals, get those properties so where I've got them paid off and convert them to condos at some point in time, act as the bank, and really just sit back and collect checks.
I mean, that's the name of the game, right?
Yeah, man, living the dream, man. That's
Where I want the game. It's just learning how to play it, right?
Yeah.
And those who have experience and knowledge know how to play the game. So that's what we're here for. Right?
And that's the most important thing, I think, is knowledge. It's interesting being in real estate for, the last 25 years. Having people around me that you learn certain things from. I mean, even doing probates with this guy, I've learned things that I didn't know about probates doing them before. So, when you surround yourself with the right people and having the right knowledge, and that's the key. That's the real secret. It's not the secret sauces itself. It's to us, it's like common knowledge and how we do real estate. But to someone else on the outside, they're like, "Oh, I want to learn your secrets." It's like, it's not really secrets. You just need to learn it and then practice it and do it. That's it.
Yeah, trial and error, man. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know until you do it. So
100%. I think in trial and error, that's interesting, because when I teach and mentor people in real estate investing, I tell them that mistakes are your friend. Mistakes are something that not only do you have to go through to learn from, but you have to earn your place at the investors table. If you've never lost any money before, you're not a real investor, right? So, that I think that's knowledge is probably just more the most important thing when you're looking at investing in anything, but especially if you're going to be doing real estate. You need to learn.
Yeah, you need to learn, and using the tax code to your benefit is really how you become the next step investor, right? The problem is most people don't get to live, like me and you, where we were brought up by parents who are in the real estate industry, investors. I don't think your parents were, right?
No, not at all, man.
So Steven got into this because he went to law school because he's a nerd, and then he went to get his master's in tax law, which he's also a nerd for doing an extra year of law school. But then he got into the real estate stuff with me and then within his practice, so he kind of went into it. But if you're not, and you're just someone with a day-to-day job or someone that's trying to learn a little bit about real estate, you know nothing about it. You know nothing about mortgages, you know nothing about encumbrances, you know nothing about 1031 exchanges, or how to defer taxes. And those are all huge tools to be able to use to become, financially free, right? To not have to work that 9 to 5 if you want. To have the option at least. So you told us earlier that you are doing a lot of foreclosures. So Steven told me you're the foreclosure guru.
He's the king, man, the king of the foreclosures.
Well, we actually call them pre-foreclosures because I get to them before they actually get to the auction to become an REO. Okay.
What's an REO?
Well, real estate owned.
Yeah.
And we're still,
I know that.
We're still looking for the guy that came up with that acronym because it makes no sense. We want to smack the crap out of this guy, So
what's the process like that you do?
So, well, let's say, a homeowner, obviously when they start to default on their mortgage, and whether they've lost their job or, medical reasons, whatever the situation is.
And for layman's terms, defaulting on your mortgage is missing payments.
You're missing payments. Right. And obviously, what a lot of people have seen, especially since the crash of the market before, and we're starting to get into it now, it's not necessarily where somebody just loses their job. Sometimes it's where they have adjustable rate of mortgage, where their payment was $1,400, but now after 3 years, they didn't read the fine print in their mortgage, and their payment's now going to go up to like $2,200.
And
they can't afford it.
What's an adjustable rate mortgage?
So adjustable rate mortgage is where, if I'm a mortgage broker, I can get you into this house for this $1,400 right now. And you don't really care. Most homeowners, when we buy cars and houses, people don't really give a shit what the price is.
As long as they can get
What's my monthly payment? I afford this on a monthly basis, So people get that monthly payment. They don't pay attention that the rate of the mortgage, your interest rate, is going to change.
Oh, it adjusts.
It's going to adjust. It's going to increase. Now, in the notes business, when that note mortgage is created, right, when somebody buys a house, that's going to be sold, right, and so having an adjustable rate of mortgage as a mortgage broker, there's an incentive for them to sell more of those because they make more money doing those. They get paid a higher commission on those, right, than just doing a traditional FHA, first-time home buyers, or doing a VA, a veteran's loan. Yeah, right. And so that's what really got us into trouble in the first place in the crash of the market. So when I came back into real estate again, wholesaling and getting into the pre-foreclosure market, that's when all of these homeowners, in the United States, millions of people were, not making their payments. A lot of them were adjustable rates of mortgage. So a homeowner stops making payments in about 90 days, which is the prescribed time that the lender or the servicer that's servicing the mortgage will notify them and file the lis pendens, which is, lis pendens is just Latin for notice of lawsuit, right? In this case, it's a foreclosure lawsuit. So they'll file that in the county clerk for whatever, county that the property resides. And now officially that person is facing a foreclosure. They are in pre-foreclosure. They haven't been foreclosed on. Right. They haven't lost the house to the
foreclosure process has started.
The foreclosure process has started. And generally, there's really only two ways of getting out of foreclosure. You either remodify your loan where you miss those payments and maybe the bank will work with you to remodify it, lower the interest rate. Right. Now they're starting to extend the, from a 20 or 30 to 40 year mortgage, which is kind of dangerous to do. It's just crazy. Or if you don't do that, then you sell the property. And that's where I come in. There's the majority of homeowners are not going to requalify for a loan modification. I mean, it's not to be heartless, but think about it. If you're the bank and I stop making payments on the mortgage and I'm like, hey, listen, come on, help me out. Just help me restructure this. I promise I'll start making payments.
Let me remodify for you to be foreclosed on again.
Yeah, exactly. It's a risk, right? Yeah, so there's right now, there's less than 20% of all loan modifications being approved across the United States.
Wow.
So that means out of 100 homeowners that I talk to that are working on loan modifications, I got to tell about 80 of them, sorry, it's just not your time. Yeah. It's just not going to work out.
But I'll buy it.
But I'll buy it. The good news is I'll get you out of foreclosure,
For a price, for a good price.
Yeah, for a good price, Well, and it's also interesting too, because what I actually didn't know in the early 2000s, I had heard about short sales, but I wasn't really all that familiar with them. It's interesting because when I first got to the Broward Real Estate Investor Association, went to my first networking meeting, a couple hundred people there was a guy I was introduced to, and he was short selling boats. Because in the crash of the market, it wasn't just the houses people want to make payments on, planes, boats, all kinds of stuff. People stretching themselves to those limits. Yeah. So he was short selling boats, which is where the value of whatever, if it's a piece of property or if it's a boat or a plane, the value is less than what they owe on it.
Right.
And that really kind of blows people's minds. Like, wait a second, you owe $480,000 on your house, but your house right now is worth about $250,000 because the roof, the AC, you bought this thing 25 years ago. You haven't done anything to the house, So we predominantly find most homeowners without equity. Equity obviously is just the difference between what the property value is and what they owe. If they owe $300,000 and the house is worth $200,000, they're underwater.
Yeah.
If it's the other way around, they only owe $200,000, but the house is worth $300,000. They have equity. Right. And the sad thing is that a lot of homeowners, they don't understand. There's not the knowledge. We talk about this all the time. I see, my nephews and kids getting out of high school, and they know nothing about balancing a checkbook, let alone buying a house, maintaining it, and the mortgage and the taxes.
They might not even know what a mortgage is at that point.
Probably not.
They probably don't.
Yeah, this internet thing, man, it's killing the youth.
Yeah, it is. It does. It kills the youth. So, so people don't even understand that your house isn't worth that. They're trying to remodify a loan on a house that they have 100,000 negative equity.
Right.
Why would you ever? That's like me telling you, okay, when you bought this house, I came to you the day before you bought it and said, we'd like to increase the price another 100,000. Is that okay with you? Of course it would be, Yeah. That's not fair. Yeah. So that's the mentality of it. But I think honestly, a lot of my business dealing with homeowners, because I've done over a little over 500 short sales at this time. That doesn't include how many properties that we've purchased, getting people out of foreclosure if they have equity. But I've worked with thousands of homeowners because if a homeowner has equity in their home and they look like they have a good shot of doing a loan modification, we'll help them for free and not ask anything of them. Right. Now, am I the patron saint of real estate out there just giving it away for free? No, I'm not. But I am a good, I like I think of myself as a good person, and I like trying to help people out. And I also know that, if I help this homeowner keep their home when it was the right thing to do, they're going to refer me to their neighbors, their friends, so
word of mouth.
Because they know they can trust me.
Exactly.
And if one of the person that they refer me to has equity and has a good chance of remodifying their loan, and they're not going to get some adjustable rate of mortgage or something, then I'm going to encourage them to do the same. But it's just fortunate that 80% of those people won't be able to do it. So that's when we come in to make money.
How do you see the short sale market right now? How's that changed lately?
Well, that's a good question because actually yesterday I have a data department at our company, and we pull data from Public record, of course. We have a couple national resources that we use.
Is that how you find? Is that how you find the short?
Yeah, that's how we find. So what we're doing, really, what I teach people, the essence of my business is we're not looking for properties. As an investor, you don't ever go out and just look for properties. You look for motivated sellers. If a property that you really want, you know, it doesn't have a motivated seller, the person's like, yeah, I just bought this thing 5 years ago. I'm making all kinds of money on it. You're going to waste your time trying to buy that property.
And you're going to pay a higher price.
And you're going to pay a higher price.
Right.
When you find motivated sellers, you know, I've had people that, you know, unfortunately they were behind in their taxes, and that's, you know, that's major, right? This guy was getting ready to possibly go to jail if he didn't come up with the cash. And
okay, though, we love the IRS.
yeah, I mean, you know,
in case you're listening.
Yeah, exactly. And when I pulled up to his house, I had to check the address again because I'm looking and I'm like, this house is in pristine condition. I'm used to seeing caved in roofs, Firebird, you know, half the house.
Because that's what you know. I mean, that's what you normally get in foreclosure.
That's what, that's what you normally
you get distressed properties or properties.
Distressed properties have motivated sellers behind them, right? Because they can't live there any longer. They try.
It becomes inhabitable at some point. It becomes inhabitable.
And so it's that ideology that if you're looking at, you know, motivated sellers, not only are you in the market to get better deals, but you're also creating win-win situations, because every motivated seller's in a distressed situation, we're getting them out of that. Right. You know, when we do probates with Steve, he knows that family doesn't have the money to put up for probate. Not that he's expensive, but you know, probate is what it costs, right?
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So we put up the money for them. We take the risk of doing that, because at the end of the day, if they didn't sell us the property, okay, you know, we can maybe file a notice of interest, cloud the title, so when they do sell it, they have to involve us. But I mean, you know, those kind of things are not easy to do. So, you know, we try to create those win-wins. But back to your question, in the foreclosure market, right now in Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade County, which are predominantly the Tri-County areas where I do most of my business, I'm here in the best real estate market in the world. I don't know why. I have partners and friends that are investors, and they're like, oh, I'm buying properties in, you know, in Atlanta and all these kind of places. I'm like, why? I'm right here. It's like South Florida. It's like the hottest market. So they're right now.
You got the women and the real estate.
Yeah, exactly. As of yesterday, there are 12,734 active foreclosure cases in the Tri-County area.
Wow, that's just 3 counties in South Florida.
3 counties. Last year, this exact same time, there was 8,000.
Wow.
So you're talking about almost a 50% increase.
Right.
And then what we look at too, because we market to those that are just receiving their notice of foreclosure, you know, that they're in foreclosure. And it's scary, because some of these homeowners that we call, I have a call center, and, you know, my people reach out to them. We market, we direct mail, Facebook, social media ads, these kind of things. And the scary thing is some people are like, I'm not in foreclosure. I'm like, ma'am, I'm looking at the public record right now. I see your foreclosure. I give you the case number.
No, they don't even know.
And so sometimes, you know, that's the situation. But we reach out to people that are just, you know, receiving their notice of foreclosure lawsuit. We try to get that information as quickly as possible, because we want to get to them, because we know, number one, they have no idea what to do. I mean, zero. Right. They didn't know much when they bought the house, let alone now they're in a foreclosure.
Yeah, most people just care about getting a house.
100%.
They don't care about how they got it. They don't care about the loan.
And they don't remember how
they don't care about taxes.
Yeah, they don't care about taxes.
I like this house.
Yeah.
I want to live here. Yeah. That's it. That's all that matters.
So we track the data every month of how many new lis pendens, notice of foreclosure lawsuits, are being filed in the court. And from January until now, January was 568, I believe. And this month so far, we're only, what is it, April the 19th. Yeah, we're not even through the full month. We're already over 780.
Wow.
So we're seeing that increase. So when people ask us what's going on with the market, we're seeing that increase of more and more people, because what's happening is it's not just loan modifications. It's not just the fact of like COVID. People did lose jobs. People lost small businesses and those kind of things. But the reality is that all of the people that were getting loan modification, not all the people, but a majority of people getting loan modifications from the first crash in 2007 and 8, it's now a trickle effect, because a lot of those people, to get out of that and get loan modifications approved, they're on adjustable rates of mortgage.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, so those arms are running out now, so it's time
We never learned. We never learned. We didn't learn from the mistakes we made before.
big difference though in 2008. That was
Major difference.
a
It's
lot of
not going to
fraud.
be. Yeah, it's
There's a
that,
lot of fraud in
from what
2008.
we're heading to now. You know, people ask me, is it going to be a crash like 2007, 2008? No, it's not going to be that.
I don't think we'll ever see something like that.
Probably not.
And
You know,
lifetime.
I mean, it depends. It depends upon what we come up with, because now they're pushing the 30-year mortgage to 40 years. I mean,
Yeah, but I think that the issue with 2008, which was when the real estate collapsed, that was just a lot of fraud, right? That was
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a pulse and you got a mortgage.
yeah, fake tax
100%.
returns, fake pay stubs.
Absolutely.
Just that's the problem. Like
Yeah.
you're saying, people just don't know what they're doing. They're just buying to buy.
Yeah.
Steven's actually buying a house now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Closing tomorrow.
he closes tomorrow.
Oh, really?
But I can afford my house. Hell,
For now.
Yeah.
Did you get an adjustable rate? No.
hell no.
No?
I got a 30-year. Obviously we got friends in high places, you know, and banks and stuff, so they hook it up.
Listen, I just want you to know, if you run into any problems whatsoever, mate.
Oh, you're my first call.
You can always sell to him. Don't worry
you're
about
my
it.
I'm sure it's a
first
really nice house too.
Well,
Yeah,
at
with
least-
my
at least
taste,
it's not in Fort
definitely.
Lauderdale. At least you didn't get flooded like in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh.
I mean, you know what happened to me yesterday? So you know how there's a gas issue in Miami and Fort Lauderdale because there hasn't been able to be deliveries.
I'm well aware. I was in line for 45 minutes. Yes.
Okay, so yesterday I had about 20 miles left to empty, and I leave here, and I live in downtown, so probably like 15, 20 minutes away. And I pass by 6 gas stations. They all have bags over them, no gas. I get home, 0 gas mileage. I felt like a teenager because my parents had to bring me gas to my apartment in downtown. My dad, who's 62 years old,
That little red tank.
comes with a 5-gallon red tank. He's like, I bought your premium gas. You owe me this much money. I'm like, dude, I felt like a 15-year-old kid who couldn't drive, and my parents had to pick me up again.
Well, let me tell you
Delivery
something.
fee.
You know,
And this is all about opportunity, and this is in real estate too. It's all about, different trends and things. I saw a guy at the gas station yesterday with a truck, and he was filling up a bunch of, little gas cans and something because he's going out there and finding people without their gas. You're like, I'll tell you what, I'll only charge you $15 a gallon. But that's opportunity, right?
Yeah, of course.
Somebody has a problem, right? And
You have a
he can
resolution.
fix it, right? And he has a solution. So same thing, in real estate, whether it's somebody's in foreclosure or, an investor is getting ready to buy a large portfolio, they need a solution as to how to not pay so much in taxes,
Yeah, of
all
course.
those kind of different things. How to avoid those, how to avoid the capital gains. Like, it's always about, the opportunity, one thing creating something, a solution for something else. So,
Right.
yeah.
And you, how did you first get started? Your first property that you bought, when was it? How did you get started?
Oh, wow.
Did you use all cash? Did you use loans? I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have any properties, right? They might just have
Yeah.
private residence or they might just be renting. And they're looking to get into this
Yeah.
wonderful world of real estate,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so when I first started, when we were buying houses, because I had a marketing and sales background. So when I learned real estate, I wanted to find a niche, right? So I thought, you know what? I had taken a class for my realtor's license about, I don't even remember what the name of the badge or whatever it is, but it's learning about, it's a certification, and you learn about affordable housing, first-time home buyers, that sort of thing. And then I started learning about community redevelopment agencies and how they'd have money for homeowners for down payment assistance and that sort of thing. So I thought it was an interesting thing because I always did like the aspect of making money and helping people at the same time. It's just always been part of what I do. So the first house that we came across, it was actually an REO. It was a bank-owned property, and I knew the REO agent. I had met him at a networking event. And so we went out to look at the property. Of course, we didn't have the money. My partner and I didn't have the money to buy the house. We weren't cash investors at that time. And I was a real estate agent making like maybe 80 grand a year, something like that, just starting out, So what we did find though is leveraging other people's money. So I'm down with OT, what is it? Other OPM? Other people's money.
So you would borrow from other people.
So we had a couple of investors, and with these guys, the relationship that we created is that we would source and find the houses. We would find the client already that's going to buy it, that has the down payment assistance and everything. And these guys were investors and rehabbers, and they were like, "This is perfect. We'll put up the money." And I think they actually even used other people's money as well, not even their own money. But we'll put up the money. We have the expertise in doing rehabs. We'll do the rehab projects. You already have the buyer. When you're rehabbing a property, if you already know you got it sold, that just makes the business so much more lucrative, and you can afford to buy more and more houses because they went back to their money guys and said, look, these guys have a list of people now.
Right.
So I don't know. We started with the first house. It was in Fort Lauderdale. She was a single mom and a teacher, which was my mom. So that kind of meant something to me at the time too, and that's why I'll always remember it. I'll never forget. And also not only getting her into a good mortgage that didn't have a adjustable rate, but the down payment that we gave her, like she cried when she saw what her monthly payments were going to be and what we were able to get for her, because we got money from Fort Lauderdale, we got money from Bank of America, and we got money from the Community Redevelopment Agency. So, and her son was also special needs. So it was just a great, situation. They don't always work out, like that, but in this situation it was. So that was our first house, and we got momentum and got things really going by 2002, 3, 4. And then in 2005, I was in Oakland Park, and my ex-business partner, my business partner at the time, we were looking at I think it was 84 units in Oakland Park. It used to be a part of 168 units, and they divided the property line. And this 86 units over here already got redeveloped into condos. And I had met a developer that was a converter developer, Twig Development, and he became the largest developer for condos in the state of Florida. We'd buy multifamily rentals, and then he'd convert them into condos. So I started working with them as well, consulting with them, sales and marketing, but then started thinking, wow, that's a great business to be in. So the next big project that we tried to get into was like 2006, is when we started, contracting this property, doing a seller finance deal with the owner, because he owned it free and clear. This guy, Bobby, I'll never forget him. He was a nut job. But he loved me because I also fight and did Golden Glove boxing, and he had the trophies up and everything. So he and I really hit it off. I educated him on what a seller financing deal is, where you act as the bank, right? You own it 100%. So you're basically selling it to me. There's at 4.5%.
You're giving me a loan.
Yep, exactly. I think it was 4.5%. We were buying it at $5 million.
A lot of people would kill for that.
Oh man, it was unbelievable. It was an incredible deal. We were both going to walk away.
You're getting what, 6 and a quarter?
I'm getting 6 flat.
Oof.
Still good now.
I mean, now, and the Feds are going to raise rates, in May and then
I think in May,
July.
yeah.
And this was on an investment. This wasn't even on like a residential
Right, which is
property.
normally
It's
a
on an
higher
investment.
interest rate. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, I get pretty good rates because I have a good track record, but still, my lenders are at 8%, on investment properties. But so we got it in contracts, got all the way to, getting all the money together. He and I were both going to walk away with almost $1 million each. I mean, it was like, calling the family, like, I need it, man. I'm in real estate. I can't believe it, And then the market crashed, and we literally, within a couple of days, in 2007, I don't remember the exact date, but we met Bobby at a diner up in Broward, in the Oakland Park. And first thing he said when we sat down, he says, "You're not buying my property, are you?" Because the development behind us that was identical, that they had converted to condos and they were selling them at like $160,000, a door. Right. We're buying these things at like $30,000, $40,000 a door. They lowered their price to like $110,000 and then to $90,000. I mean, so we were priced out of it. So luckily we got out of the deal. We did spend some money on it, but all of the other projects and everything we were working on, we just lost everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very important that people know OPM, right? Other people's money. Because it's kind of how you have to make money before, you have your own, right?
Yeah.
And not, we might not have the access to private lenders or private hedge funds or people who are just willing to give you money, but use your credit. You go to a bank,
yeah,
right? Yeah. So if you're going to buy an investment property, normally it's 20% down payment minimum,
yep,
or 25%, depending on the bank and the loan program.
Yep.
But I've seen, your primary residence is an investment too, right? So.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is too, there's all kinds of different ways. And again, it's knowledge and education,
right,
to know how to leverage those things. I remember raising money. The first time I raised $500,000 after the crash, when I got into wholesaling. In 2010, 11 is when I started raising money to start wholesaling and doing rehabs again. And I remember we had my buddy's condo association. He knew the manager and the president, and they're all friends. So they let us use the extra room that they do meetings and stuff in for free. We went to Publix and got some like cheese, platter, and some fruit platter thing, whatever. Low budget productions, man. We had a whiteboard. We didn't even have paperwork to give people. We just had a whiteboard. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're drawing out our business plan, and we raised $500,000 that way. What I tell people is that, the answer is always the same if you don't ask.
Yeah, of course.
No.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to get out there, put yourself out there, get some people to believe in you. Go to your friends and family, see if you can raise some money. And obviously you can leverage money. I didn't understand that in the very beginning. Now, $500,000, I can create, $5 million worth of purchasing power from that, right? So it's just a way of getting that knowledge and raising money that way. But that's how we, kind of got started out with
absolutely.
other people's money.
Yeah, but other people's money, right? And for someone that makes $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $50,000 a year,
Yeah, they need that help.
They need help, right? So if you save money, you can have a down payment for a bank, even if you can't raise other people's money.
Yep.
And it's okay to use a bank, right? Interest rates are high, not as high as a private loan.
Yeah.
But still, that's gonna help you start, right? And that's how everyone gets in the game, unless you're, from a rich parent that gives you $1 million.
Most of the more successful, larger, investors that I've met over the years, almost none of them use their money. I have hard money lenders that don't use their money.
Yeah, it's always about using someone else's money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the biggest pain in the ass deal you've ever done? And please don't say it was one of our deals.
Oh my God.
I know we've had a couple of pain in the ass deals, but
well, actually, I'll tell you about one recently because there's 100 of them. But we had this guy. Well, this was actually about a year ago. So we had this guy. I'll just give his first name, William. He had a townhome.
You don't have to name drop if you don't want.
Well, there's a lot of Williams out there. I won't say his last name, Flipper. No. But he had a townhome. He was behind in his HOA payments. So when you live at a homeowner association, right? There's payments that you make monthly. It could be $200 a month. Right. And if you don't make that payment, they can foreclose on you and take your property.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand that.
They
either
don't.
when you lie at a homeowner association. So he had this townhome, and he was behind on his payments to the tune of about $12,000. He had an attorney. He had actually gone through 3 attorneys, red flag. He went through 3 attorneys that were postponing the foreclosure with the HOAs. Because HOAs, when you have a foreclosure, you have a bank foreclosure and a homeowners association foreclosure. The bank foreclosure, even though that's a billion-dollar institution, they are big, dumb, and slow. And they're not here locally.
You take their time.
Bank of America hires attorneys out of like Tampa and Orlando, and then those big guys hire the junior attorneys out of Miami to go and actually appear in court. So, the paper trail and everything, it takes a long time. I tell homeowners, if you're behind on your HOA payments, you better deal with that first because they can literally walk down to the courthouse and file the paperwork, So he's behind about $12,000. His sale is on a Wednesday. We are at his house on Monday night at 9 o'clock.
Oh my God.
And we're like, listen, here's how it works. We're going to put your property in contract to purchase from you. He had equity. He was going to walk with $150,000. I think we were buying at $280,000. And these things sell for like $450,000. So we're still getting a good deal on this. And he had done some improvements and everything himself too. So there wasn't a whole lot that we're going to have to do. And plus it's a townhome. We don't have to do roof. We don't have to do the outside. Really, that's the homeowner association takes care of that. It's just interior work. So Monday, 9 o'clock, I get a call from my acquisition guy, and he's like, I just left William's house. He's arguing with me now. He wants more money. He's not going to do it. I'm like, is this guy out of his mind? He's going to lose his property.
He's going to lose it on Wednesday.
He's going to lose $150,000 on Wednesday.
For
Right?
being selfish, man.
For $12,000.
For being selfish.
Yeah. So, and he said, but I feel really bad because when I left, there was a lady, and he said this little short lady that came in, and she was making an offer to him as well. We weren't the only ones.
She must have been
public record, right?
She was probably Hispanic.
She was Hispanic, and he was yelling at her and berating her. Like, my acquisition guy was like, I didn't want to leave because I was kind of like worried about this lady. Like, this guy's yelling so loud. Well, he says, wait a second, hold on. William's calling me right now. So he clicks over. He says, I'm headed back to the property. He changed his mind again. I'm like, all right. Go and tell him this is the last time. We're not coming back tomorrow. We get him signed up. It's 10:30 at night now. Everything's good. The next day, Tuesday, we literally, wire the money we took a check to the clerk of courts, paid off the $12,000. They canceled the sale the next day. And now this guy says, oh yeah, I'm not moving out. You know, I'm not doing the deal. Well, do you have my $12,000? No, but I'm just not selling you my property now. Well, yeah, actually you are. So
You don't know it yet.
You don't know it yet. So he gets an attorney. We find out throughout this process that this guy has had, I don't know how many lawsuits. I mean, there was literally, the judge mentioned like a list of them, including some of his siblings.
He's a schemer.
Yeah, and he's lost all of them. So meaning the judge now knows that this guy just gets an attorney just to get an attorney, says, I'm going to sue you, but has no merit to his case.
Right.
You guys know as lawyers, anybody can really get a lawyer and start to sue somebody if they want.
Yeah, for anything, yeah.
You know? So 6 months go by, we're fighting with this guy. Meanwhile, you know, we still have this property, he's still living in it, we put up the $12,000. Now he says, okay, I tell you what, I'll agree to this, but I need some relocation money because I need to move out first before we do the sale. I need my first last of security. So we start even, you know, the good heart in me, you know, I start feeling bad for this guy because he is, you know, he doesn't have anybody, you know, and so I was like, all right, I'll help you relocate. So we gave him some more money to relocate. It's like another $15,000. And now his lawyer says, well, he wants to sell the house himself and then he'll give you guys the money.
Jesus Christ, wow.
Okay, well, I don't know how that's going to work. That means I don't get to buy it. I don't get to rehab it, but it's been 6 months.
But you get your money back.
Yeah, at least I get my money back. And we had costs and things. We obviously, you know, we put our attorney's fees and everything on top of that. So he goes to sell the house to this couple, this poor couple from New York. They have, the day before closing, they literally have a U-Haul truck down the street from the property at a hotel because the next morning when they close,
They're going to move
moving
it.
in.
Right.
He cancels the deal on it.
Oh my God! Wow.
And I don't know how he got away with it, but somehow he canceled the deal. And they basically just gave up and said, we're going back to New York. So finally, our attorney, we filed a motion and we got heard in front of the judge, and the judge was hearing all this and was just like, this guy is out of his mind. I see all of these lawsuits on here, and he's like, you know, Mr. So-and-so, you know, you're now, not only are you selling this property, but you are vacating the property as well. And he's there with one of his neighbors, and she's telling him like what to say, and they're talking on the Zoom, and you guys know judges don't appreciate that at all.
Definitely not.
And I mean, this judge was like getting like to the point that he said, I've never heard a judge say this before. I even talked to my attorney. My attorney said, I've never heard this either. And the judge said, if you don't stop talking right now and do what I'm telling you to do, I'm sending an officer to your house and you're going to be placed under arrest and you're coming to my jail. We were just like,
We held
what?
pets.
So this guy, we finally get the paperwork done. We get all the title work and everything done. And now he says, I'm not leaving. I'm staying in this place. So now we have to do a writ of possession. We have to do an eviction. Fast forward another month, because that process takes a while,
Yeah.
right? This is now, we're into this thing for like 9-10 months. Another month goes by. We finally meet this one morning. It was a Wednesday morning. And we have 2 sheriff's deputies. These guys are dressed like SWAT team. They're not joking around. And I loved it too, because the dude's like, he's got all the tats and everything, and he's just looking aggressive. I'm like, yeah, yank this dude out of this house, you know? Well, part of his lawsuits, they had restraining orders. The poor landscaper guy, Jose, I literally talked to this guy. He came out and attacked him once. We think he had maybe schizophrenia or something. He came out and attacked the landscaper one time because he said he's poisoning his bushes or something. So the landscaper had a what do you call it? A restraining order.
Uh-huh.
The manager had a restraining order against him. When we went to witness the eviction, I'm not kidding you, it was like a drive-in movie theater. There were 3 or 4 cars lined up with people in them, like they're eating popcorn, waiting for this guy to get because they were so dumb.
No, everyone was interested in the
Oh
drama.
my gosh! Yeah, everybody.
Invested at that
Yeah.
point.
So he's at the window. He's talking to these guys. We found out that he declared bankruptcy that morning. He had an attorney declare bankruptcy,
Wow,
as
the
if that's going to
latest thing
protect
even
him.
more, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that didn't protect him. And the sheriff's department is talking to him through the window, and they're like, "Just come outside so we can talk." They just want to get him outside so they can get him out, and he won't come outside. Well, we start filming. One of my business partners is taking the camera and start filming, and he gets all like, you know, flustered, right? So he comes out of his house and says, I'm going to check the mail. And now he's filming us. He gets to his mailbox. One deputy goes to the door. The other one goes to the sidewalk waiting for him to come back. He gets halfway and he stops and I made a mistake here. You can just see the gears in his head thinking like, I should have never walked out of my place because I'm not getting back inside. So they didn't arrest him because he agreed to grab like a computer, his wallet, like a couple different things like this. And then we, according to the law, we had to take all of his possessions, put them right outside of the guard gate of the HOA in this big grass area, which we did. And he came and got some of his stuff, but didn't get that much stuff. And we got the place cleared out. And we finished, some finishings inside, paint, that sort of thing, put it up and sold at retail, made really good money. He only ended up walking away with, I think, at the end, with less than $100,000. I mean, just for no reason.
Playing all those games, man.
Played all those games. But that was a difficult deal just because of the time that it took.
It took like a lot
the
of
frustration of dealing with this person. I mean, and then hearing like the heartache of this couple that came, like, well, I felt bad for these people that, from New York, so, but there's a lot of difficult deals that we do. And sometimes the difficulty is not really, a complaint that it's difficult, but it's just the situation, right? So we had a probate that actually Steve did for Ralph Robertson.
Jesus.
And this poor guy, he was adopted. He had no family. He's 42 years old. He has the mind of a 10-year-old, the maturity of a 10-year-old.
Right. I think so do we sometimes.
Yeah.
It depends if we're a happy hour or not.
Yeah. But, the challenge there was that he literally had no one to help him. So we had to help him. And this was a gentleman, like, he doesn't know how to shampoo his hair, that kind of thing. So we had to get a state agency involved. We actually helped him relocate. We went up there. My whole team went up there. We drove him to his new place. We got him a rental, a temporary rental, and got him I went and bought him some clothes, and we got him groceries. And the funniest thing was I bought him this really nice, like, comfortable jumpsuit because he's a big guy, 6'2", like 300 pounds. He just sits around the house all day. He doesn't have a TV. He's watching his phone. He was most excited when we relocated him to be able to have a television because he had a television for the first time in years. His television was broke. He had lived in that house since he remembers. He says, I've been there since I was 11 years old, which is the year he got adopted. And I bought him this really nice jumpsuit, and he looked at me and he was like, wow, Ryan, that's really nice, but I only wear shorts, and just walked away and was like, all right, I guess he's not going to appreciate the nice clothes that I bought this guy, But that wasn't, I look at it, it was a difficult deal, but it was so rewarding in the end because we improved that guy's life. His house was rat infested. Mold. I don't know how he was still living because when I walked in that house, we had to have masks on. That's how bad it was. So getting him relocated, and it wasn't we didn't make hundreds of thousands of dollars on this deal. It was actually one of the lowest profits that we've had of this year so far. But I'm totally fine with that because it was such a win-win. And getting this guy relocated and getting him the help that he needed, I love things like that. So.
Yeah, and that was a double whammy, man. We had probate and you had a short sale that one too.
And there was a short sales of foreclosure on that one too. It was not easy, but we got the best probate attorney in South Florida here.
That's what they say. So
It depends how much he charges.
You're gonna edit that out, right?
Yeah.
We have some questions coming in, some quick Q&As if now's a good time.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, first question, what are some common challenges that real estate service providers face when working with clients, and how can they address some of those issues effectively?
I'll let you answer.
Advice for the realtors and the real estate lawyers out there.
Yeah, well, I'll let you answer since you're on.
So service providers, do they mean?
I'm talking about realtors, I'm talking about real estate agents.
Oh, so just kind of managing your network and your team?
That are managing these portfolios.
Okay. Well, the reality is that getting your network built up is a learning experience too. I'm sure. How long have you been doing real estate for probate?
10 years. No?
As an attorney, 10 years, but in the industry, like 12.
Okay. So in 12 years from today, from when you started, are you working with all the same people?
No.
Exactly.
No, definitely.
Right. You learn, who's the people you want to work with, who's the people you don't want to work with. The reality is that if you look at people, don't try to invent the wheel. If you look at people that are already successfully doing it, and usually, trying to kind of align yourself with the right people, using the same service providers. I mean, I had a business partner that I was doing, some deals with. He introduced me to Steve, and now Steve is my probate attorney. If he minds his P's and Q's and keeps his rates where they're at, 12 years from now, he might still be my probate attorney.
And keep posting happy hours.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's part of the important aspect of building a network is that just knowing that you align yourself with the right people. You see who you gel with. There's some people that you start working with.
People you trust.
People you trust. Maybe there's some people you just don't really vibe with, or maybe they're not on the same feeling. I've had people that I've done real estate deals, and they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. We can tell them that they don't have equity and stuff. And I'm like, no, you're trying to rip these homeowners off. I don't do business that way.
Yeah.
So, regardless of how successful that person was, just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you're successful. You want people that have a good reputation. Do your research. When you find someone, obviously, we had several referrals, from Steve. We had several people saying this guy's the guy. And we knew because they had done enough business, and he's been in business long enough. But I've had other times where, I've got people right now that I'm trying out for different things, different aspects of real estate. And so, you keep people at a certain, keel. I've got a new buyer that I'm trying out. So I sent them one deal.
Right.
I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. Let's try them out and see how they do. And then, go from there.
Yeah, they got to gain your trust.
Yeah, they have to gain your trust.
Yeah, man, you got to be able to have dinner with somebody you do business with, That's how I, look at that.
Yeah. Even if they eat all the potatoes.
Yeah, even if they dive in head first into a bowl of potatoes.
You didn't have to bring that up. So the way I met Ryan was at a happy hour event, and we had dinner after at the same restaurant.
Morton's.
At Morton's, right. And we were eating, it was like 10 of us, we were eating family style.
Well, no, but wait, you got to go back a little bit. So this is like an important happy hour.
It's not that.
There was like 100 people there. And then usually after we do these happy hours, we always get like a table of like 10 or 12 people. And we invite like our VIPs. And he was one of our VIPs. This guy drove down
like a VIP. This guy was taking me around and telling everybody I'm the guest of honor and stuff. I'm like, I was just there, I thought, for a networking.
Yeah, I was telling everyone, man, this guy drove from Tampa to be here. So we ordered the food. The potatoes come, and then
steaks come out, the sides come out. They serve sides, in this thing with a spoon.
Right.
So that, when you get it to the next person, you can put it on your plate, then that next person,
That family style.
And I
yeah, but not Ricky.
I'm like, hey, we're sitting at this long table, and I asked Steve, I'm like, hey, does anybody have the mashed potatoes? Where's the mashed potatoes? And I looked down at the end of the table. Now, in his defense, he did say, there were witnesses that said, he asked, does anybody else want potatoes? And nobody answered.
Yeah.
I didn't hear him. But
Yeah,
then I
neither
see
did
this
I.
guy grabbing the whole thing with the big spoon, and man, he's just going to town on those potatoes. They looked really good. Still to this day, I have not been able to eat potatoes at Morton Steakhouse. I'm not saying it's because of you. I'm just saying.
Hey, I asked.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted.
Yeah.
And I was already in pretty. I was like 12 drinks in. So
I think I need no excuse, man. No excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, they were really good though.
Yeah. But the answer to that question is try to find people that you trust. Build your network slowly. Align yourself with people that are already working with that service provider, whatever they do, and make sure that you're
having the same goal in mind.
having the same goal, having that alignment of what what the end results are. So yeah.
What are some ways to build trust and rapport with clients?
For me, it's being genuine and honest. That's it. I think it's very simple for me. I mean,
Yeah, you have to be genuine. You have to have an actual passion or interest in what you do. And yeah, you got to build trust. I mean,
you got to be honest. I mean, people, like you said, I don't like to do business that way either, where if I'm trying to rip someone off, or I'm going to tell them your house is worth this and I'm going to give you this, or
Yeah.
in any outside of real estate, in any manner, I don't function like that.
Exactly.
yeah, let me tell you something about the power of I don't know. A lot of people, everyone always wants like a guy, right? Somebody that will solve the problems,
That's why they call us.
Yeah, I mean, of course, that's why they call us, but I mean, we earned that, right? Like, not everybody knows everything. Even the people that are super knowledgeable don't know anything, or don't know everything, rather. So if you're able to tell someone, look, I don't know, but I'll find out for you, I feel that builds a level of trust instead of, giving some, bullshit answer,
Yeah. I teach that in my mentoring. So I've had students where I remember I was coaching one of my students one time, and he said, this homeowner asked me this question, And he said, I didn't know the answer, so I just kind of bullshitted him. I said, well, that was the dumbest thing you could have done. I've actually I remember this one time, I was knocking on doors. I've knocked on thousands of doors. And I was inside this home, and the wife, her sister were on the couch. I was sitting in this chair, and the husband had just gotten home. And he had a shirt on that had his name on it. So you could tell he was a blue-collar, hard worker. I think he was a mechanic or something. And you could tell immediately from the guy, he's one of those no-nonsense, no-bullshit guys. And so they're sitting there, and they're asking me questions about the short sale, right? Because they need a short sale. I'm trying to give them the knowledge and show them that I'm the right guy for the job. And as they ask me all these questions, I'm thinking in my mind, keep asking me questions. I'm answering these things like sad, like this ain't nothing, And I look over at the husband, and I kind of just got a sense from him that he's like, oh, this know-it-all kid. Like, who is this guy thinking he's all cocky and this kind of thing? And obviously, he's already embarrassed a little bit because he's facing a foreclosure. He's not making payments on his mortgage. The next question they asked me, I said, you know what? That's a really good question, and I don't ever want to give you the wrong answer. I will never BS you, but I can get that answer for you, and I'll have that answer by tomorrow. I swear the guy's demeanor totally changed. He leans forward in the chair. He's like, so Ryan, that's the first time he even said my name. So that triggered right there and told me that's something of use. Now, I don't go out and necessarily do that on purpose just to gain people's trust.
Right.
But I tell my students, don't tell people if you don't know.
Don't be afraid to say
Sometimes the best thing is to say, I'm not going to bullshit you. And that's how I gain trust from my, I don't call them clients, my homeowners, but that's how I gain trust, is making sure, and this is the other thing too, be true to your word. Don't tell someone, I'm going to call you tomorrow at noon, and then call them at 6 and be like, oh, I just got really busy and stuff, because you could have called them probably at noon unless you were in the hospital or something, or whatever. So when I do that with my homeowners in the very beginning, and this would go to how you gain trust from your clients, is when I tell someone I'm going to call you tomorrow at noon, I set an alarm at 11:55, and no matter what, I'm calling that person at noon, and then I tell them, see, I told you I'd call you at noon.
do what you're going to say.
100%. So after you do that a couple of times, you build neural pathways in people's minds to say, hey, every time Ryan tells me something, he's a man of his word.
Yeah, he's a man of his word.
And even in my personal life, my family, my girlfriend, like everybody knows, I will kill myself to make sure that I come tried and true and say and do what I say I'm going to do. So don't, and that's the other, goes back to the same principle of do not overpromise and underdeliver.
Right.
That's another important thing. So
that's right. Obviously, 1031 exchanges are pretty complicated subjects. How could real estate service providers effectively explain it to a client?
Easy answer is call us.
No, I mean, look, it's very simple. Let's say you're selling this water bottle for $100, right? And you want to buy this water bottle, but when you sell this, you have to pay taxes when you sell it, right? The problem is you're able to not pay taxes when you sell this and you buy something else, right? So let's say you're selling this water bottle for $100 and you bought this for $200. Within certain timelines and everything, yes, and laws, but you can but defer the taxes on selling this water bottle by buying this water bottle, right? So you can roll over everything and not pay any taxes on this and buy this. It's pretty simple. That's I mean, we could use Legos if you want. I don't have any Legos with me. I mean, it's just imagine these are properties, right? You're selling a property, you want to buy a property, and people don't think about taxes when you sell something.
right.
When you sell anything, but specifically real estate property. So when you sell real estate property, you're gonna have to pay taxes unless you do what is called a 1031 exchange, right? And then you can defer taxes.
Well, obviously the incentive for that is saying, hey, keep your money in the United States market. And when you, like, let's say these are rental properties instead of water bottles, that other rental property is going to be, paying taxes and that sort of thing. So, I actually had, I had one opportunity a long time ago that I almost did a 1031 exchange. The person that we had doing our 1031 exchange had no idea what they're doing, screwed it up. I don't know what the time frame was, but we just didn't act and quickly enough. But we had a property, it had 3 different houses on the one lot, even though it wasn't even zoned for multifamily, but had been run that way forever. And
Highly special.
Yeah, exactly. We were utilizing that to purchase, we were going to purchase another 28 unit building. And it all fell apart. And then the purchase of the 28 unit building never happened. So So I haven't been able to do my first successful 1031
Well, I
exchange.
mean,
I'll be doing that with you guys.
for the most part, you do a lot of like fix and flips, rehab.
Yeah, I'm a wholesaler, so
Right.
I'm cash and carry.
So,
you know,
so the
quick.
1031 exchange doesn't apply to
Yep.
wholesalers or
Yep.
flippers or dealers. It applies to investors, but which is the field you want to get into, right? So where you
Yep.
want to invest into multifamily so you can retire and,
Yeah.
and have that monthly income, and then you can do 1031.
Yeah, I probably should have talked to you guys first, but when the rental market came up so much over the last year,
Well, I was about to say 25 years ago you couldn't talk to me because I was 4 years old.
no, I'm talking about this last year. I sold I had 5 rental properties and I sold all of them.
And you
I
paid tax.
couldn't pass it up.
You pay tax.
Yeah, I
the
put
walls, huh?
that money into cryptocurrency.
Oh man, I hope it wasn't FTX.
No, it wasn't FTX. It wasn't FTX. I'm hoping that things are looking much better. You know,
But you got to pay the tax. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
I got to pay the tax.
There's always a
Whether I pay
question
it now or pay it later.
There's always a question we get of, oh, but what if I want to take out my money and invest in crypto or invest in art or whatever it means, stocks? There's a way to do things, like the smart way,
Right.
The tax savvy way, which is what we know, right? So in your case, if you wanted to invest in crypto or stocks, whatever it may be, you sell those properties, you do a 1031 exchange, you buy new properties, you defer the taxes, right? Then you do what we call a cash out refinance, right? You take a loan on that property you bought, you pull out some of the equity, and there's your money, right? To play with. There's your money to play with.
Yeah,
You're not paying tax on that money, you're paying interest. Interest is less than tax,
sure.
especially capital gains tax.
Right.
Right? So that's the real way to do it, is you sell a property, you do a 1031 exchange, you defer the taxes, and if you want money to play around with, pull a mortgage on your property. Take out the money, you pay interest, but don't pay taxes.
Yep.
Yeah, and on your rehabs, you could do it too. Like you identify something, and maybe it's a real clunker, right? And it's going to take time to build it up. If you hold it for at least a year and a day, ideally 2, you could sell that bad boy, and then you could buy, 1, 2, 3, potential rental properties and get some income that way. So yeah, it's a great tool. It's a great tool.
What are some key business strategies that realtors, real estate agents, real estate attorneys?
Gotcha.
Education. I mean, specifically when we're talking about real estate property and agents and attorneys, I think it's super important that they educate their clients. And which is one of the reasons why we're doing this, because first off, you have no idea how many realtors or real estate attorneys do not know, not even what a 1031 exchange is, more or less, anything about taxes.
Right.
Right? So, and like we were talking about before, many homeowners just buy and they don't care about anything else, right? Whether it's an investment or whether it's a primary residence, they just buy it as long as I can afford it for now, that's good.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that they learn and they use their knowledge to educate their clients. Specifically, that's going to gain trust. Your client's going to see that you have their best interests out in mind. And that, for me, that's very important for them to do.
And part of the question too is what strategies. It's interesting because there's all types of different. If I look at the spectrum of people that I know in real estate, people are doing different things, right? Not everybody's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I think that the reality is that you find a niche, something that you like to do, something that you have some kind of passion for a little bit. I don't think it's like I used to be a music producer, so that's my real passion. I'm not as passionate about real estate as I am about the music industry, but I still have passion about what I do and helping homeowners and that sort of thing. So find your niche, find something that interests you. Because you're not going to learn and become successful in something if it doesn't interest you a little bit, have some passion in it.
Right, you're just not going to care about it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like you said, as a strategy, arming yourself with knowledge is much more important than probably, I know a lot of real estate agents think, oh, well, let me get my Instagram up and show the right car, this and that and everything.
Let me get my TikTok going.
Yeah, exactly. That's less important than just arming yourself with the knowledge that you need in order to be able to.
Because knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
What avenue you're in, I mean, knowledge is power, and it builds trust.
Yeah.
Because if I have a client, or if someone comes to me and a realtor and they're going to teach me something I don't know, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
I'm yours.
Yeah.
I'm yours. You're going to go out of your way. You're going to teach me something that you know that I don't know.
You're going to become their go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say, knowledge builds trust.
Yeah.
Where do you find that knowledge?
by calling 1-877. No.
You know, it's interesting because today, you know, I went through college. I graduated at High State University, and I remember. Don't shake your head, man.
Yeah, they robbed us of a championship.
But I remember, you know, back in the day with LexisNexis, which a lot of people don't even know about, was an sort of an first online system, and I remember taking the class one day about, you know, what is the internet, and the internet was developed because of all of the underground communications that the military had built to transfer information. That's really what they started using. They started using that network. So knowing that, before way pre-internet, and now fast forwarding today, and now you have things like YouTube, right? Where people go to which is there's a plethora of knowledge on there, but here's the problem. The problem is that that person's not tangible. You don't know that person. Like cryptocurrency, I follow, blockchain backer, Richard Hart, all these kind of different people, but the people that I really, get my knowledge from are the people in my circle, the people in my network. It's the people that, if I have a friend of mine that, is buying cryptocurrency and he's doing really well at it, I'm like, okay, so what are you doing? Where are you getting So learning, I think that way. I think the best way to get knowledge is face to face. You have to get out there, go to networking events. These guys have a networking event. Was it every Friday?
We used to have it once a month.
Once a month?
Well, when you're eating potatoes like it's going on.
Exactly, that costs you more. But
I slowed down on the alcohol a little bit.
Yeah.
That's too much.
I think, get your knowledge from places that have already sort of have a little bit of a proven track record. And knowledge also, the other place that you get knowledge from is trying. When you try and fail and keep trying, trial and error. I've learned more about probably my real estate and what I do in my investing and rehabbing from the mistakes that I made than I ever, learned from like a contractor or somebody teaching me about, dimensional shingles versus, regular.
Yeah, I think you can learn a lot from YouTube and podcasts and others, but trial and error is huge. For example, me and Steven, we went to law school. We read the tax code, which is why we know a lot about tax law, specifically about 1031 exchanges, and no one's going to want to read that. But there's so many different instances in which a 1031 exchange applies that we only learn that through application, right?
Yeah.
We only learn that through trial and error.
Yeah.
And those are things, this is outside of 1031s, everything, right? But we learned a lot while practicing, and that's definitely something that's a tool that can be used on our podcast and YouTube, is that you're not learning just from a book. You're learning from people who have learned trial and error, right? And who have experienced different things.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys are doing it. You're successful at it. So that's, again, this is my network, right? So when I get to a place of doing a 1031 exchange, now I know where to go.
Yeah.
3 years ago, it wasn't exactly the same. We have like I said, I'm president of the National Real Estate Investors Association. We've got 50,000 members across the country, 120 chapters. And we have national speakers that go on, on sort of a tour. They come to the individual RIAs. There's the Chicago RIA, the DC RIA, the Honolulu RIA. There's one in Honolulu.
Can I go?
Yeah, right. That's the one I really want to go to. And we've had, experts and people that come to teach, 1031 exchanges and things like that. The problem is, though, is that they're not local. They're not here, right? They're not here doing it. So you can get some information that way, but, real application, I think, comes from finding people in your network that do these kind of things where, people can watch this that are local and need to do a 1031 exchange. They can actually make an appointment, get you guys on the phone and have a conversation with you. That's powerful.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So last question, at the end of the day, in real estate, what matters? What matters most?
I think it depends who you're asking.
Question, right?
There's a lot of people that say that money matters most, but it just depends who you're asking.
Well, I've heard some hints what that answer might be. I've heard pushing through failure. I've heard people, getting the right people around you. I've heard having the passion for it as a process.
I think the most powerful thing is knowledge. I think knowing as much as you can kind of benefits you in every aspect, with people, with taxes, with how to buy, with how to use other people's money, OPM, with using private loans. I think if you learn all of that, it becomes so much easier.
Yep.
I mean, if you get to the finish, if your goal is to get to the finish line, that's like the most important thing.
What's finish line?
You're gonna encompass all that, right? You're gonna get there because you have the knowledge, because you have the trust from the client. You're gonna have all that,
I think too that the two mantras that I've always taught in my mentor programs is consistency and follow up. I don't care if you're a real estate agent, if you're an attorney, whoever you are, consistency and follow up is true keys. I mean, there's no secret sauces when you're wholesaling or flipping properties or buying multifamily. Consistency and follow up is the key to all of it, because you have to be consistent in your business. A lot of people like to put their entrepreneur hat on, and then when it becomes the weekend, they take the entrepreneur hat off, and it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way.
When you're an entrepreneur, it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You have to stay consistent with that, and you have to build up through time. I mean, luckily for me, I've gotten to a point where I can go take a 2-week vacation, turn my email off to a certain extent. We're still, slaves of our, of our business. I keep one eye on it at least, but I could do that now. I graduated. I remember the first 5 years that I got a business, and this is something that any real estate agent that's trying to build their brand, any investor that's trying to build anything, any attorney that's just starting out with his practice, has his little office somewhere or whatever, don't take a vacation for about the first 5 years. Don't think that you just have, that ability. You have to really, to really earn that success. There is that grind that you have to have. And everybody, in today's day and age, it's like, I want to get rich quick kind of thing. How can I get into real estate? I'm sure there's people asking those questions all the time. So you guys ask it to me. What can I do right now to become a millionaire in 1 year? It's like, well, you're asking the wrong question, and you're thinking about it the wrong way.
Right.
The reality is that if you were making, even in this day and age right now, let's say you're making $300,000 a year, okay? Which is good money. I mean, if somebody has a job and they're making $300,000, that's great money.
Unless you're in New York and you get taxed like
Exactly. I mean, I want to make more than that. I make more than that, but $300,000 a year. If you were making $300,000 a year doing something in real estate that you like to do, that you had passion for, and it satisfied you that way, to me, you could live that for the rest of your life, and I would say you're a successful person. It doesn't matter to me that you haven't made millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you do something that you like, and you've been able to build something. I mean, and especially when you look at it, how many other countries in the world can you develop a business, make $300,000 a year, work for yourself? Like, that's a dream, So I think that the bad part is the influence that everybody has on Instagram and everything else, and you've got all
They make it seem so easy.
influencers that are, oh my gosh, making like $1 million a month. It's like, that's,
They make it seem so easy and that it's so attainable,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort.
Yeah, making money is definitely a marathon, not a sprint, man. That's that mentality. And anything, that's the mentality you
Right. You have to be able to live in the present while also thinking about the future.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sayings too. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Everybody's trying to get it in the now. I got a nephew that's 22 years old, and he is building his landscaping business. He actually just got financing to buy 3 new zero-turn mowers he's so proud of. He's got his truck, he's got his trailer. I'm teaching him how to build up, his marketing,
brand.
get a niche. You grew up in the area, in these neighborhoods. There's like, 1,500 houses within, 10 miles. I'm like, just market to them to say, I would take care of your home as if it was my own. Like these kind of things, and building that business. And I told him, I said, you're going to need to grind this thing out. And he's been doing this now for like 2 years. And he understands now that it takes time. Yeah. But, 2, 3, 4 more years, if he keeps going at the rate that he's going, this kid will be, he won't even be 25, 26 years old, and he'll be making almost a couple $100,000 a year. So
yeah, exactly. You see it a lot with real estate agents too. I think in Florida, like after the first year, 90% of agents are no longer really practicing.
There are, I believe, 420,000 real estate agents in the state of Florida. Do you know what the average house, how many houses a real estate agent in Florida sells?
1.
Less than 1. Because basically 98% of those real estate agents don't do anything.
Right.
Yeah, they're part-time realtors, right?
Part-time realtors. Yeah. So that's unfortunate.
But it's the thing that they think, like, for example, whether it's that or just investing, they think it's the get rich quick. Oh, this is going to be super easy.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
It takes time.
You got to have consistency to follow up, 100%.
A person doesn't know how much he has to be thankful for until he pays taxes on it.
I like
Unless you do a 1031 exchange. You have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Ryan. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was great. I love talking this real estate.
Yeah, we want to really educate people and how to become an investor like you, or how to defer taxes and anything, and learn the ins and outs of real estate and the tax game and the game of games and how to play it.
Free knowledge, guys. That's the best.
Yeah, it is.
Affiliated 1031 would like to thank you for watching this episode of the Real Estate and Tax Talk podcast. If you're ready to leverage your gains, you can find us online at affiliated1031.com.